Back at my old house, behind my old shop, I used to have a table that was permanently out there and I could use it to cut up material, and I did a lot of different projects on that table out back. Since moving here, I've been using sawhorses to kind of take the place of the table, but it's always been my intention to build a new one, and here it is. It's made from new 2x4 mostly, but I did cut the legs out of old 4x4 posts that I had. I made the legs short so that I could use these concrete deck blocks underneath to stabilize it and to add some mass to keep it in place. I also took the time to level it up to make sure that it's absolutely flat on the top. You're probably going to be seeing a lot of this in upcoming projects. It only took a couple of days to build, and I'll show that now. To get started, I'm cutting these old 4x4 posts to 30 inches long. To cut these, you could use a handsaw or a skill saw like this. Or if you have a big miter saw, you could use that. Each leg needs 3 notches, 2 in one side and 1 in the other. The first notch is 4 inches from the bottom and 3 inches wide. To cut the notches, I'm using the skill saw set to cut into the wood 1.5 inches. I'll make a series of cuts with the saw, knock out the pieces with the hammer, and clean up what's left with the chisel. The notch at the top of the leg is also 3 inches wide and cut in the same way. There's one more notch to cut in each leg, and it's 5 inches wide, and it's right below the 3-inch notch at the top of the leg. Now that the first one is done, I can do the other 3 in exactly the same way. Each leg set has 2 stretchers, one at the top and one at the bottom. These are 40.5 inches long, and I've got to cut them down to 3 inches wide. I need to get an even coat of glue in each notch for the stretchers. Clamp them down tight and drive 2 screws in to hold them in place. I do the same for the top stretcher, spread some glue, clamp it down, and drive the screws. When both stretchers are attached, I can set it aside to dry and get started on the other leg set. For the braces, I've got a piece of 2x6 that I've cut down to 5 inches wide. I can lay out the shape and cut them out on the bandsaw. I drew this pattern out quickly on a piece of plywood to use as a template. Of course, it doesn't have to be this elaborate, just a straight curve cut would do. With the braces finished, I can attach them to the leg sets with glue and screws. Now that the braces have been installed, I need to add a cleat at the back corner here to help support the long stretchers. To attach the long stretchers, I'm spreading some glue on the top of the brace and back on the cleat, clamping it down tight and driving screws. Now that the base is fully assembled, I'm giving it a coat of paint. I'm starting with a coat of primer. After the primer is dried, I can give it 2 coats of exterior paint. While the paint is drying on the base, I can get started on the top. The top is made with 2x4s that have been ripped into pieces. The leftover 24 inches from each 2x4 is ripped also to use as spacers between each slat. These are then cut so that I have 2 pieces that are 9.5 inches long and 1 piece 4 inches long. Alright, now that I've got all the parts cut out, I can start putting this together. What I've done is I put a piece of 2x8 across my table saw and onto my workbench over there to try to make as straight a platform as I can to start putting these together. So I've got the first piece laid down on the 2x8 like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of the end pieces and glue and nail those on. Once again, I'm using polyurethane construction adhesive to glue the parts together. Just going to get some on this side right here. Spread it out a little bit. Then I can lay it down on here, flush with the end and flush with what will be the top. And I'm going to put a couple of nails in pretty close to the bottom. I'm putting the nails close to the bottom on these just in case I cut into the top. I'm not likely to hit a nail. I'm going to do the same with the one in the middle. Some glue on there, put it on, and put a nail in. Now it's just a matter of doing the same thing over and over again until I'm up about this high. Then I'll be able to get it onto the floor and it will stay straight and I can finish the rest. Leave it overnight to dry and then I can put it on the table base tomorrow. I changed my mind and decided that it would be better if I did the top in 2 pieces. It's the next day and now I'm gluing the 2 parts together. To clamp it, I'm using ratchet straps, 1 on each end and 1 in the middle. I gave the glue a few hours to dry. Now I can scrape off the excess on the surface. Give it a very light sanding and prime the entire surface, top and bottom. To attach the top and allow it to expand and contract, I've cut a cleat that screws on to each end of the base. These brackets allow the top to move back and forth. Before installing the top, I want to get a dab of glue right in the middle on each end. I'll drive a screw through the cleat into the top in the middle on each end. I can then screw the brackets on each end with 2.5 inch screws. As shown, I've taken the time to prime and paint it to give it some protection. It's going to be out here winter and summer. Well, that's it for this one. I hope you liked it and thanks for watching.